There is one machine on Earth that every advanced chip depends on. It's made by a single Dutch company, ASML, and it is so strategic that governments write laws about who is allowed to buy it. China, the world's second largest economy, is blocked from buying the best ones. And in 2026, India just got the deal. ASML agreed to equip India's very first commercial fab. Think about that. The most jealously guarded supplier in all of technology, the one the West keeps out of China by treaty, is choosing to hand India the keys. So what exactly did India get, and why does it matter more than almost any other headline in chips? Let's get into it. First, why ASML is the choke point of the entire industry. Every chip is printed. Lithography is the step that uses light to etch circuit patterns onto silicon over and over, layer by layer. And ASML is the only company on Earth that makes the machines for the cutting edge. There are two tiers. DUV, deep ultraviolet, is the workhorse. It prints the mature and mid-range chips that run your car, your phone's power, your appliances. EUV, extreme ultraviolet, is the crown jewel, a machine the size of a bus, costing hundreds of millions of dollars, needed for the most advanced logic. ASML has a near-total monopoly on both, and an absolute monopoly on EUV. Control that one company's shipping list, and you effectively control who can make what. That is exactly what's happening, and India just moved on to the right side of the list. So what did India actually get? On May 16, 2026, Tata Electronics and ASML signed a partnership to equip the Dholera fab in Gujarat, India's first commercial 300mm plant. The tools are DUV immersion systems, the advanced deep ultraviolet machines used to print chips from 28 nanometers up through the older nodes. That matches exactly what Dholera is built to make. Power management chips, display drivers, microcontrollers, automotive parts. But here's the part people miss. The deal isn't just metal boxes. ASML is also bringing what it calls holistic lithography, the computational software that corrects the patterns before they are printed, plus the metrology tools that measure whether each layer came out right. That bundle is how a brand new fab reaches good yield quickly, instead of fumbling for years. And the agreement leaves a door open. The possibility of EUV later, if and when India is ready for the leading edge. For now, India is getting the workhorse, and, just as importantly, the know-how wrapped around it. That is a far bigger deal than a purchase order. Now, why this is geopolitics, not just a sale? Since 2019, the Netherlands, under steady pressure from Washington, has blocked ASML from selling its most advanced machines to China. ASML has never shipped a single EUV system there, and the screws are still tightening. In 2026, the U.S. pushed for allied countries to formally coordinate their export controls, with ASML's equipment named directly. So the single most strategic toolmaker on the planet operates, in effect, as a geopolitical gate. When that gate opens for India and stays shut for China, that is not a commercial accident. It's a statement. The world has decided it wants a serious chip manufacturing base that is neither Taiwan nor China, and it is putting real capability behind India to build one. For India, the upside is enormous. It gets to skip the part where you're frozen out of the tools and build with the industry's best from day one. But read the flip side honestly too. India's access depends on staying aligned with the US and allied bloc that controls the gate. The same leverage that lets India in could, in principle, be turned. Access this or strategic always comes with strings. To see how valuable that access is, look at what China has to do without it. Blocked from EUV, China didn't give up. It improvised. SMIC, its leading foundry, takes older ASML DUV machines and runs the same wafer through them again and again, a trick called multi-patterning, to reach 7 nanometer and even 5 nanometer class chips for Huawei. It works, but it's brutal. Each extra pass adds cost and time, throughput collapses, and yields are low, reportedly 20 to 40%, against the 80+% a healthy leading-edge line achieves. China is paying far more to make far fewer good chips, and it's racing to escape the trap by building its own machines. Its toolmaker SMIE has delivered domestic 28 nanometer DUV tools, and there's a homegrown EUV program. But the prototype has produced essentially no chips, and realistic timelines run to the end of the decade. So China is spending enormous effort to claw toward tools that India is simply being handed. That contrast is the whole point. The very same machines are a blockade for one country and a welcome mat for the other. But here's the catch, and it's the part the triumphant headlines skip. Owning the machine is not the same as making the chip. A lithography tool is the hardest instrument humans build, and running it at high yield is a separate, brutal skill. You need process engineers who can tune thousands of variables, operators trained on the exact equipment, and years of iteration to push yield from terrible to profitable. China is living proof. It has plenty of DUV machines and still grinds along at 20 to 40% yield. Tools don't guarantee chips. This is exactly why ASML's holistic lithography, the software and metrology wrapped around the hardware, matters so much for India. It shortens the climb, but it doesn't erase it. India is building a manufacturing workforce almost from scratch, and the first chips out of Dholera will not be its best chips. So the honest scoreboard isn't, did India get the machines? It already did. It's, can India run them at the yield that makes a fab profitable? And that answer takes years to write. So here's the verdict. The cleanest way to read the Tata ASML deal is one line. Access is a gift, but yield is earned. The gift is real and it is huge. When the company that controls the choke point of the entire industry, the gatekeeper whose best machines are kept out of China by treaty, chooses to equip your very first fab, the geopolitics have shifted in your favor. The world wanted a chip base outside Taiwan and China, and it has handed India the single hardest thing to get, the tools and the know-how around them. That is genuinely new, and it's why this matters more than most chip headlines. But the gift only becomes an industry if India earns the second half. Watch two things. First, yield. Whether Dholera can ramp its DUV lines to the high numbers that make a fab pay, the exact thing China still can't do. And second, whether that open door to EUV ever actually opens. Because that's the line between making the world's ordinary chips and making its very best ones. The quiet winner through all of it is ASML itself. It sells the tools to India, sells the workhorses that China is forced to overuse, and stays the one company everyone needs. So don't watch the signing ceremony, watch the yield. If you want the real machinery behind the chip industry, who controls the choke points, who gets access and who gets blocked, and who quietly profits either way, this channel takes it apart one piece at a time. No hype, no hot takes, just how the silicon really gets made and who really holds the leverage. Subscribe if that's the version you want and stay with it, because the moves that decide this industry happen in the boring, brutally hard layers that most coverage skips right over. Thanks for watching.